You bet. 40 Days began literally with 4 people, myself and 3 others, in College Station, Texas, praying for an hour about what could we do about the abortion crisis in our community. And as we prayed, we really felt convicted to do something for that 40-day time frame that is, of course, a spiritually significant time frame. And the 3 activities that we felt led to engage in, number 1 was prayer and fasting, because we know that with God all things are possible. We can't end abortion or save lives only on our own. The second thing we felt led to do was to hold a 24-hour-a-day peaceful vigil outside of the abortion facility, not only bearing witness to the injustice of what was happening inside, but also offering hope and help to the mothers going in. And then the third thing was to conduct grassroots community outreach, spreading the word throughout the community that people could be involved in being a solution to the crisis of abortion. So from that humble beginning, we saw 1,000 people get involved in that community. And abortions that year were reduced by 28% in that town. And we just thank God for answering those prayers. And from there it began to spread, and now we've seen 40 Days for Life literally spread to 559 cities across not only all 50 American states, but now 27 nations. So even as we're here doing Sharathon here at Redeemer Radio, there are people praying and fasting in Moscow, Russia, in Croatia, in South Africa, in Rio de Janeiro, joining together their prayers for an end to abortion. 40 Days for Life combined with Catholic radio is a very potent combination. And particularly during Sharathon, I think this is especially relevant. There was a man in Sherman, Texas named Jerry Brundage who heard about 40 Days for Life, and he was thinking about signing up to lead one, but in his own words, he chickened out at the last second and didn't. So a campaign came and went, and then the next one came up, and he finally said, okay, I've got to do this now. So Jerry signed up to lead a 40 Days for Life, hoping people would show up. And people showed up from all over the community. Well, on the second day of their vigil, Jerry was going out to his own vigil hour outside of the abortion facility, the Planned Parenthood Center there. And as he was driving up, he saw one of his volunteers, and he saw a woman talking to her. And as he pulled up and walked over, he realized, oh no, this is the director of the Planned Parenthood facility. He thought, she's probably yelling at my volunteer right now. So he walked over and she introduced herself, and she said her name was Ramona, and she said, well, I was just here to ask, is this a 40 Days for Life? And he said, yes. And she said, well, that's great. Literally, she had been driving to work that morning, was flipping through her radio, stumbled onto a Catholic radio station, and heard about 40 Days for Life and heard an interview with Abby Johnson. And she said, I was so moved by this, and it really spoke to my heart, and I felt convicted. Here I am, part of the problem, working inside Planned Parenthood, the largest abortion chain in our country. Maybe I need to get out. And Jerry ran and got a copy of Abby's book and gave it to her and said, here, read this. And she did that night. She came back the next day and said, I really feel convicted that I need to leave, but I'm the main provider for my family. So that campaign finished. She still hadn't left. The campaign was over, and one day she decided to go back to church. And she had been raised Catholic, and she went to church on the day, the Divine Mercy Sunday, and it was the day that Blessed John Paul was being beatified. When she sat there in church that day, it was like the Holy Spirit spoke to her and said, you need to get out because you're part of the problem. Become a part of the solution. She called us, and on Monday she turned in her resignation. She quit her job. That Planned Parenthood went into a financial tailspin without her leadership. Then the state of Texas defunded Planned Parenthood, and that facility was shut down. And she thanked God for not only having people around her to love her out of working inside Planned Parenthood, she thanked God for Catholic radio that had brought this message to her attention, and she thanked the people who had helped her to leave Planned Parenthood and help that facility to close down. Catholic radio has been one of the best platforms for sharing the truth about human life anywhere in our nation, in our world.